Hey guys, good morning. Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and early, 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today I want to talk about hypocrisy. A couple blatant, unbelievable cases of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, that's one thing I'm sure I've been guilty of. I'm sure I've been labeled a hypocrite many times here on this channel. There's cases where I probably could be considered guilty of hypocrisy. There's a lot of times where I readjust my attitude. I get new facts and I change my opinions. And in those cases, I wouldn't quite call it being a hypocrite. I'd call it adjusting my opinions to new evidence. But these cases here today that I'm going to talk about, this is blatant hypocrisy, just blind, blatant, tone deaf hypocrisy. Lara Trump talking on Newsmax and Donald Trump Jr. talking on Rumble. My hand got sore. I did not have a board big enough to write everything down on this morning, and you'll see in a second. This is interesting. As usual, the links will be down below to back up everything I'm saying, so you guys can check that out for yourselves. All right, let's start with Donald Trump Jr. on Rumble. Okay, he was his voice always cracks. He always gets on there. He whines about this or that, and his voice crack like you know, and it just, man, for me personally, it just makes it kind of funny. You know, his whole aura of manliness and mega authority just kind of cracks with his voice, but this isn't about that. He's talking about the Washington football team. I call them the Washington football team because they've changed their names from the Washington Redskins. Now, yes, I am part Native American, Wabanaki, the Wabanaki Confederacy, and a Micmac. Micmac is part of the Wabanaki Confederacy from generally the state of Maine and Canada. I'm probably about 40%. About 40% Native American and French Canadian. Now, Donald Trump Jr. Starts making fun of being woke, and he starts mocking the Washington Redskins. They were formerly called the Redskins. Now, I think the Redskins is an offensive name, without a doubt. You know, come on. It's offensive. It is. If there was any other colored people, the Washington Crackers, come on. Of course it's offensive. Me personally, I probably shouldn't tell you guys my weaknesses, but the thing that bothers me is what I'm called chief. It's probably because I'm 6'4". I'm a tall guy. It's just that is something that just makes me stop in my tracks, and I feel my adrenaline spike if somebody calls me chief. Maybe that's because my skin color isn't all that red, and if I was more Native American, I probably would find the term redskin more offensive than I do, but it is offensive. That's not what the video is about. All right, so Don Jr. is complaining that the Washington football team let go their cheerleaders, and they hired a male-female dance team. It sounds like they're moving on with the times with me. Like I said in yesterday's video, I'm sure women enjoy seeing men out there too. And the world is half female, half male. So why not entertain everybody? Right? It makes sense to me. And, dance is, I love it. I think watching people dance, there's a few dancers on TikTok that are just unbelievable with hip hop dancing. That I wish at 55 I'd look ridiculous doing it, but I love watching dancing. Anyway, Donald Trump Jr. is all offended. He is all taken aback because the Washington football team supposedly notified these cheerleaders by Twitter that they were no longer needed. And I'm not sure if that's specifically correct. They were notified of the change. I don't know if they were given the chance to join the dance team or not. But anyway, Donald Trump Jr. is all offended by this, that they didn't even have the guts to. They should be called the Washington Wokes because, they're giving into this woke stupidity and all this other stuff. And they didn't even have the courage to the courage to face these cheerleaders eye to eye. Well, that's interesting, Donald Trump Jr., because your father is known for doing exactly that, firing people on Twitter. Isn't that amazing? So Don Jr.'s on Twitter, ranting and raving, his voice cracking, because he's all upset. The Washington wokes, as he calls them, let go of their cheerleaders by Twitter. And this is just, it's unforgivable. It's gutless, no courage. Let's see who his father fired by Twitter. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Homeland Security Kristen Nielsen, Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin, Defense Secretary Mark Esper was let go by Twitter, White House Counsel Don McGavin was let go by Twitter, Christopher Krebs was let go by Trump on Twitter, Rance Priebus was let go by Trump on Twitter, and that's just a few of them. The list goes on. The link will be down below. So his daddy is famous for airing dirty laundry and letting people go and just basically trying to shame them. And a public firing is unconscionable. And his father is famous for this, and he's all offended that the Washington wokes, as he calls them, let these cheerleaders go. But he doesn't seem to remember his father is famous for this. Amazing hypocrisy. Now, Lara Trump, it gets even better. Lara Trump, she was talking on Newsmax, and Lara Trump is the husband of Eric Trump. She is Donald Trump's daughter-in-law. All right, so she took offense at Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, calling the governors that lifted the mask mandates and Neanderthal thinking. She took offense to that. She says that us poor conservatives, we're used to that, because when the left when they don't have any good arguments, they resort to name calling. They're famous for this. They don't have any good ideas, and this is what they do. They resort to name calling. Well, that's interesting, Lara Trump, because your father-in-law is famous for calling people names, and it's funny you say that. That's what people do. When they don't have a valid argument, a valid leg to stand on, they resort to name calling. It's funny you bring that up, because your father-in-law is absolutely... I could not write down all the names that Donald Trump has called people. It was hundreds of names. I'll have the link down below, the Wikipedia link. It's unbelievable. I had no idea. It was hundreds and hundreds of nicknames that Donald Trump has made up for people. But let's go over a few, shall we? Okay. For Bill Clinton, we had Wild Bill. That's what Donald Trump called him. Crooked Hillary, Lion Hillary, Sanctimonious, Leaking, Shady, Lion, Slippery, Slimeball, James Comey. For Joe Biden, Donald Trump called him Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Basement Joe, Crazy Joe, Quid Pro Joe, Slow Joe, Sleepy, Creepy Joe Biden. Okay, Donald Trump called Mike Bloomberg Little Michael, Mini Mike Bloomberg. He called Richard Blumenthal Denang Dick. Mr. Tough Guy, he called Joe Bolton. Richard Moonbeam Brown, the former governor of California. That's what Donald Trump called him. Low Energy Jeb Bush. Alfred E. Newman, Pete Buttigieg. Sleepy Ben Carson, Lion Ted Cruz, Mike Yesper instead of Mike Esper. The Flake, Jeff Flake. Al Frankenstein for Al Franken. Lightweight Kristen Gillibrand. Phony Kamala Harris. Senator Joe Munchkin for Joe Manchin. Mad Dog James Mattis. Evan McMuffin for Evan McMullen. That Donald Trump he is so clever. He is just amazingly clever. And the funny thing is, Trump supporters love this. They think this is so brilliant. This is part of his genius, his very stable genius. All right, Wacky Amorosa, that dog, Amorosa. Evita for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Dummy Beto for Beto O'Rourke. Crazy Nancy Pelosi. Little Marco Rubio. Crazy Bernie Sanders. Shifty Schiff, Adam Schiff. Crying Chuck Schumer. Mr. Magoo, Jeff Sessions. And one of my all-times, I'm going to tell you guys, this one ticks me off, man. You can see my face turn red. Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren. This is let's just talk about this for 1 second here. I cannot stand somebody out of the blue thinking it's their business. It's any of their right to assume that they can validate somebody else's nationality. For him to say that she doesn't look Native American, meaning she's not wearing a headdress and smoking a peace pipe in Donald Trump's eyes. This is a pet peeve of mine, man. And this list went on and on. Donald Trump, famous for calling people names. That's about all he does. And Lara Trump, though, just on Newsmax a day ago, now, us conservatives, we're used to this. We're used to being called names. That's what the left does when they run out of arguments. Interesting hypocrisy. Hey, one more thing I want to talk about hypocrisy. Okay, so it looks like these $1,400 stimulus checks, it just has to go back through Congress to approve the changes that the Senate approved and get approved by Congress once again. It went through Congress, then it went through the Senate, then it's going back to Congress to approve the changes. Then it goes to Joe Biden's desk and it gets signed off, and we'll be seeing checks in a couple weeks, if that, which is fantastic. All Americans, I'm sure all Americans can use this as the vaccine goes out and we can get back to giving our business to movie theaters, to concert venues, to sporting events. The country really needs this. Regardless if you have a job or not, this is great because it's gonna be a good boost to the economy, which we need. But I do remember last year, the last two stimuluses, I saw over Facebook and Instagram, I saw Trump supporters calling non-Trump supporters hypocrites once again, that we shouldn't spend the money or we should mail the money back. Remember that last year when Trump approved these stimulus checks, and Trump supporters were all over the social media saying that anybody that didn't support Donald Trump should send these checks back or they're hypocrites, because it's like Donald Trump's out of his personal bank account. They made it sound like. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to come on here and tell Trump supporters that they shouldn't cash the checks that are coming out part of Joe Biden's stimulus plans. I think all Americans need this, and I'm not going to come on here and say that Trump supporters are hypocrites for taking it or for whatever. I think all Americans need it right now. All right, you guys have a good Sunday. I'll be back later with another video.